As mentioned, I am from the youth organization for sustainable energy, vedvarende energi in Danish, and our name is Ung Energi. We have a very active international department in sustainable energy and doing all sorts of activities all over the world. And in Ung Energi, one of our main purposes is to enable a new generation to take a stand for the environment, to say it really short. And another goal for us is to broaden the perspective that climate change is happening everywhere, and that we all have to work together to have some sort of impact on the environment in a good way, of course. It is our firm belief that there are very few regional and national problems that do not have a global and continental reach. And therefore it's important for us just to focus on this and take it seriously, of course. In Ung Energi, we're addressing this by doing a lot of different projects where we are trying to connect the youth in countries in the south with the youth in countries in the north, to use the terminology that's been used today. And to illustrate this, I have two examples that I would like to share with you. The first example is a solar cart that we brought to Northside Festival. And I'll start by telling you a little bit about some background information on this. In Mozambique, there are a lot of people without electricity, but however, there is a lot of modern technology still finding its way into the savannah, of course. And that is, for example, mobile phones. So Sustainable Energy, they were developing a project where people in remote regions were given the resources and tools and know-how to build their own solar carts, which could be taken from town to town and recharge people's electricity appliances, for example, mobile phones. Giving people without energy or without electricity still a possibility to get their mobile phones recharged and get in contact with the rest of the world. So in Ung Energi, we were wondering how we could adapt this to the Danish youth and how we could explain that more easily. So at Northside Festival last year, a festival in Aarhus, we developed our own solar cart and built it from scratch and took it around the festival grounds, recharging people's phones. And while we were recharging people's phones, we were talking to them about Mozambique, and we were talking to them about the parallels and giving them an idea of how many similar things we have in common. And this was a great success. We did this. A lot of people come to talk to us, and it was really well received. This event, if you can call it that, gave the festival goers a very clear image of some of the issues there are in developing countries, and gave them food for thought about how much the North and the South have in common. That was my first example. The second example has a starting point in Nairobi, Kenya. Sustainable Energy is setting up a project where it gives the youth facilities to meet and also the funds to make events to unite people. Because without uniting people, then it's hard to get together to work towards a brighter future, of course. Then in September last year, we invited 5 Kenyans to visit us in Denmark. That had, by us, I of course mean Ung Energi and some of the volunteers that we have here in Denmark. There were two objectives to this meeting. The first objective was to learn from each other about how we are attracting volunteers, how we are approaching the youth, and how we're addressing different issues. The second task, or the second objective, was to visit schools around Denmark and do a unified presentation about our different issues and how we are addressing it in these different regions of the world. This project was a great success too, and both Danes and Kenyans learned a lot from each other, and we got some great responses from the audience to whom we were doing the presentation. So that was great, and this is actually from that project where it was one of the presentations that we made. Okay, the common denominator for these two projects is that both are connecting the North and the South, and is underlining the need and the potential for educating in the facts that we are in this together. And what we think is important about these projects is that climate change is not solely European or an African problem, but that it's a global issue that needs to be addressed globally. There's still a lot to do in slowing climate change, and given the success that Ungarn has had so far, there'll be many more of these cross-continental youth projects in the years to come.
Thank you for sharing your story. I think it's a great idea, like keep